So we're going to add a CA, a certificate authority, to our network. And I'm going to do it on the west site.
Which chapter is certificate authority in?
Hold on one second. Yep. Make a differencing disk connected to the west site. Yes. And it's when we boot up, it's going to be VM7. Chapter 20.
Whenever you see it, was the CA side one?
West. And the IP is going to be 172.16.0.4/18. In real life, I would create a certificate authority, and then I would create a subordinate certificate authority with the primary certificate authority issuing the subordinate certificate. Then I would take my certificate authority, take it offline, turn it off, unplug it, secure it in a secure location, not to be turned on again for another 5 years. Or however long you create your first certificate. Your certificate authority, your certificate should be issued by your subordinate. But in this lab, I'm going to get rid of the subordinate and just issue certificates from the certificate authority. If this machine gets compromised, all certificates related to that are compromised. So you really want to keep this box secure, and the only way to keep a box secure is unplug it from the power, unplug it from the network, and lock it up.
Connected to the east side, correct?
West. It doesn't really matter where you connect it to.
So the subordinate just issues tickets created by the certificate server?
The subordinate is issued a ticket from the certificate server that is a ticket granting ticket. You know, it's a certificate that can grant certificates. So once you issue that to the subordinate, then the subordinate can issue certificates because it was given the authority to issue certificates. It has a certificate that will allow you to create certificates. And then there's no reason to keep your primary CA online, because the only job that primary CA should have is to create a certificate to the subordinate. But we're just going to skip that step and just use it as a certificate server that issues certificates.
But if that get compromised, can't someone issue the same certificates?
They could, but if I have multiple subordinate CAs and one gets compromised, I can pull that one subordinate CA off, and only those certificates are issued. I might have 10 subordinate CAs, you know. So if one gets compromised, then only the ones issued from that one get compromised.
We're joining this to the domain, right?
Yes. So we can, guys, we can do 172.16 0.2, 0.3. We can, even if we wanted to, add all 4 DNS servers. Because now we have 4 in our organization. We have two DNS servers on the west site and 2 DNS servers on the east site. So I'm going to join it to the domain now. I just wanted to make sure I had audio.
You said this is meeting 7, correct?
Did you have an interview today?
7.
Carly?
Hey.
I'm sorry?
I'm just making sure it was meeting 7.
Guys, again, sign in as a domain admin. Guys, I'm also going to fix my time zone.
It's really not 3:21 p.m.
I'm going to make sure my DCs are using the same time zone. Guys, if it seems like your DC won't respond, probably the lock screen isn't showing up. Just give it a second.
Login as domain admin.
Yes.
Domain admin can do all the same things a normal local admin can do, right? Just more domain stuff.
Yes. This is not just a domain admin. He's also an enterprise admin. Excuse me. The first domain controller, the first domain that you create in a forest, is also has two special groups. One group is called enterprise admins. They can create domains. A normal domain admin can't create domains. An enterprise admin can. Then you have a schema admin that can create changes to your schema, which is a definition of an object, defines the attributes. So when this first DC that we create, or the first domain that we create, we have two groups that we don't have on any other domain. Enterprise admins group and the schema admins group.
Should we turn off firewalls for this? To see it?
If you need to test ping, turn off no, I don't want to say turn off firewall. What do we do with the firewall?
I don't know. For some reason, my CA keeps randomly shutting down on me.
Any chance you're right-clicking the start menu and choosing shutdown?
No.
Okay.
I was looking somewhere
Look,
else. and
once I join it to the domain, that's already open. You're part of a special profile called domain. See right here?
Yes.
So once you join it, your firewall is more relaxed.
Yeah, all of my
Yeah.
all of my virtual machines are just randomly turning off on me. Both my laptops on. And then this one just keeps shutting down on me whenever.
Well, let's connect to one and see what it's doing.
I'm on it now. It just was random shut down on me. Everyone's sitting here out there idle.
Well, when it starts doing, I don't know what to say. So are we ready to move on? Are you joined to the main?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to add roles and features. I'm going to choose certificate of services, Active Directory, certificate services. Reasons you don't want to put this machine on a DC is if I have to take this machine and lock it in a closet, I don't want to shut down a DC to do that. Really, you shouldn't have a CA on a DC because this first certificate authority should be disconnected from the network. If you did that on any machine that has any other role, you'd be missing that role. So make sure this is the only thing on the CA.
Brian, why are you putting on your DC?
Because I was testing them. Okay. Listen, the other thing is
Professor first.
the host name. Hold on one second. The host name can't change. So whatever host name you have is the one that will be there for eternity on all these certificates, or at least until this initial certificate has expired. By default, is 5 years. Yes.
For the CA, what you what you select for that menu screen before for the roles and features?
I'm doing it right now. I'm starting over. I was on my wrong machine.
Okay.
So just the default. Add a role. This server. I don't have any server group set up. and I'm adding Active Directory certificate services. And the name and the domain, whatever it's set to right now, can't change. And again, I wouldn't put this on any machine with any other role. Now we're going to do online responder. Certificate policy web services. Guys, I'm trying to remember this, but 2 of these won't allow you to work. I think these 2 won't work if we do it right now, because I don't have a certificate server set up. But I'm going to try to do it now. But see this device, network device enrollment services? That's if you want to set up certificates for machines that don't understand Active Directory, like your routers and switches. If you want to set those up, install that role as well. But for right now, we don't have any of those devices. I think these 2 are going to give us an error when we try to install them because the certificate server isn't set up. But I'm going to try anyways. Next. Next. When computers connect to this, or computers or users connect to this server to get a certificate, they're going to do it through a web application. So you need a web server. Restart the computer.
So yeah, I had this like same problem in a different lab. I just like randomly shut down on me. And I don't know what's wrong.
It's not doing it now.
Since I know it's doing it now, I guarantee you, like 10, 20 minutes now, it's gonna shut down. Something random and just shut down.
I don't know. I would just reboot the whole machine and go back in. I don't know what to say. You know, I've heard blue screening. You know, when there's something with your physical machine that's wrong.
I don't know. It'd be like random shutdown, and then it's like, oh, did you schedule this unplanned shutdown?
He's running late from work. Could you boot his machine and go into server 1 for Adam? Is she coming? No? Do me a favor, shut her machine down because I got it. So just at the end of the night, make sure it's just shut down properly. Sorry guys, this is chapters 19 and 20. 19 and 20.
Did you join the East-West massive domain?
No. Okay, guys, so I'm going to configure my certificate authority. Oh, okay.
Hurry doesn't shut down.
I don't know.
We were overseas on road services.
I chose all but one.
Do we select?
The one of them, the top one, the one bottom.
Okay. I chose everything but the one next to the bottom one. Network devices I didn't choose. And you might have to go through it again. Okay.
Okay. That one, probably.
Okay, so I'm going to click on Configure Active Directory Certificate Services. Again, I don't think these two are going to work initially. We're going to have to go through this twice because we don't have a certificate when we start this. So it's asking who do we want to do it under whose credentials? Our admin account. You're not going to have all these, Ivan. You won't have all of these here. So I'm going to
Yeah, no, I'm gonna do that.
it's going to give us an error, see?
We do that on installation.
When we go through this one here, it'll actually create the certificate that will allow us to go back through and add this one. So if we try it, it's not going to give it, allow us to do it. So at the end of this wizard, it'll ask, do you want to configure that last service? And we'll say yes. Okay, we have an enterprise CA or a standalone CA. A standalone CA issues certificates to whomever, but it's not part of Active Directory. Everything has to be done manually. An enterprise CA issues certificates via policy to all your computers in your domain and all your users and any other devices that you might need. And it's you can automate it. So you don't have to have the users manually request certificates and things like that. You know, Active Directory will manually handle this issuing and managing of certificates. And again, the first one you should create, then immediately create a subordinate. Then take your root offline. Right now we're just going to use the root. And it's going to issue a self-signed certificate. Subordinates cannot create self-signed certificates. So the CA is going to create a certificate for itself. Then it would then create another certificate that is authorized to issue certificates for the CA. So here's where we're going to create our new certificate. We could get a CA from a CA provider out on the internet, VeriSign, something like that, and use that.
Did you choose enterprise here or standalone?
Enterprise. And you're going to choose the encryption method. I'm just going to leave the default. RSA 2048 bits.
Root CA or subordinate?
Root. You can't create a subordinate without a root.
Okay.
Here's the common name for the CA. Here's the distinguished name for the domain, distinguished name for the CA. By default, it's good for 5 years. This is going to be the location for the database and the location for the log file. Again, it's not a log file of what transpired, it's a log file of transactions. You don't write to the database, you write to the log file. When it's safe to do so, the log file will update the database. They should be two different locations. When you do the test, it'll say it should be different locations. We're going to use our our Windows authentication to identify ourselves to the CA. So when we get a CA, or when we get a certificate or anything, it's going to be based on our Windows sign-in. The first time through, I can't do this because I don't have a CA. This is one of the steps that I said we can't do. So if we do this, we can go back through and choose it. So I'm going to choose it for later, and it's going to prompt us to go back and finish that. Next. And we're going to create our CA, we're going to create our certificate, and we're going to create something called an online responder. That online responder is going to let people know if we expired or revoked a ticket prior to the expiration. So if I give someone a certificate and it has the expiration date of 2019 and I expire it in 2016 or revoke it in 2016, I need to let people know that that certificate is invalid. So that's going to be through that online responder. Otherwise, people just will read the certificate, see it's good for 2019, and trust it.
Professor, the cryptography is SHA-1?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't change it, 48 bits. Here's my online responder. My certificate authority with the certificate and the web application. This web application, the certificate enrollment policy web service wasn't done because we didn't have a certificate at that point. When we click OK to complete that one other option we couldn't check, it will fix this automatically. Basically, it's going to our web server, choosing a certificate for our web server that didn't exist up until this point. Click OK. Now it's saying, do you want to configure that last role? Click yes. So it's going to go through this wizard again, but the only thing we're not going to check, we're going to have checked is this. I just want to clarify what we just did. This was not completed because we didn't have a certificate. This is a web application. So when we go through this process of completing this one, it will fix the issue we had with this one by adding a certificate to my web server. Because at that point, I didn't have a certificate to issue to my web server. Click Next. Now I can grab a certificate from the CA. If you want, you can make it just a renewal only certificate, but we're not going to do that. You know, basically saying it can't issue certificates, it can only renew certificates. I want this web server to actually issue certificates.
This is a web server.
It's going to be a web server and a certificate server built into one. When clients connect to me, they need some portal to get a certificate. I'm going to do that with the web application. A lot of things are done with web applications in the background. When we install remote access, there's another feature that was installed too, that web direct access. We never actually configured because I can't figure out how to do it. That's a web application as well.
Cool.
Windows authentication.
Did you just click that box?
No, I did not click the box. Okay. It's recommended to use a user account for the web server. This IIS iUser account, which stands for Internet User. Can you think of a modern computer that you can connect to that doesn't have you sign in? No. So how do you go to CNN and read their website without signing in? It does sign you in automatically as some web server. So if you have a website or a Windows box and you connect to that website, it automatically signs you in as IIS_iUser account. So it wants to issue the certificate as that user. If we do this option, half of them will work, half won't. I don't know why. And we don't want to start that application as that user because we're creating a web application. It's copying all the stuff from the internet and creating this web application. I'm just going to have it start the application with an application pool identity that's built into server, like our service account or network account that's built in. You know, when you see that service account, that's what I'm going to use. If we try to use our IIS user account, it just doesn't work for half of us, and I don't know why. So I'm just going to use this, even though it's not recommended. Now look guys, I have a certificate. Before, when I went through the wizard for that web policy, I didn't have a certificate, now I do. Click Next, and configure.
Sorry, Professor. There is something here. Not open.
Okay, I'm going to wait till he gets back though. I'm going to open this up. Tools, Certificate Authority. I didn't know if your text was last night or this morning, because I just had a whole series when I woke up in the morning. The structure of each certificate is different. So if you want a certificate for a computer account, that's going to be different than a certificate for a web server or a certificate for a user. So each style of certificate is different. So this certificate server, we need to define those types of certificates we want to issue. So we need to add the certificate templates that are currently here. We need to add them as potential certificates we can issue. So I'm going to highlight certificate templates, right click and go manage. We can't alter any of the current templates that are here. So what we can do is we can copy them and then modify them based on, modify our copy. So I'm going to start with computer. I want my organization to create certificates for computer accounts. User account to admin, my online responder. This chapter is out of context in the sense they have you create all these certificates, but they don't show you how to use them. So we're going to create a whole bunch of certificates. You'll see that they get created and you won't see them in use. So you just have to take my word on it that these certificates will have a purpose, either currently or down the road, depending on what you want to do with the certificate. But I'm going to create this, copy this computer template so we can change it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate the template. We don't have to change this, but if you want it, we could we could leave it here as far as compatibility. Guys, go to general. We have to import these templates. Once we create the templates, we have to import them to say these are the types of certificates we want to issue. Under the general, I changed template name to be Ferris Space Computer. Ferris all uppercase. The reason I like to put my domain name in front is so when I see all my duplicated certificates are all in a row. I don't have to search for them. And when I issue a certificate, it'll be good for 1 year. Under security, for authenticated users, I want to check and enroll and auto-enroll. So under general, I gave it a name. Under security, for authenticated users, I check enroll and auto-enroll. I'm going to do the same thing for the administrator certificate. Duplicate it. Under subject name, under general rather, change it to Ferris, whatever your domain name is. Publish in Active Directory should be checked. Administrator.
Same permissions?
Same permissions, authenticated users, enroll and auto-enroll. Then we have to do something special here. Under subject name, I want you to unselect anything with email in it. In real life, I wouldn't need to do this because I would have an email server. Right now, I don't have an email server. My schema hasn't been changed to include an email address field. So if we try to issue any certificates with an email field in it, it'll just error that certificate out.
What did you do under the subject name?
I unchecked include email name in subject name and unchecked email name. But in real life, I wouldn't do that because I probably would have an email server in my organization.
So if we choose it, just basically goes nowhere.
I'm sorry?
It goes nowhere if we leave it chosen. I mean, select.
It doesn't go lower, it just doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't have an email server. Because we don't have an email server, we didn't change our schema. Our user accounts has attributes, has a name field or this field or that field. It doesn't have an email field. If you install an Exchange server on your network, you're going to change your schema so your user accounts will have an email field. I don't have that field, so if I leave that checked, the certificate server will look for that field, and if it doesn't exist, it'll error out and not create the certificate. So anytime you have any user account type certificates you're duplicating in this scenario, uncheck those two items, otherwise it'll just give you an error. Because we don't have an email server. Click OK. Let's do this online, this OCSP. Duplicate that.
Professor Ferris?
Yeah.
For the administrator, did you use the same name as the other one? Or did you change it slightly?
No, I said Ferris Space Administrator instead of Ferris Space Computer.
Okay. Yeah, that explains it.
So this is a certificate for a service. Someone is going to contact me to download a revocation list. A revocation list are all the certificates that I've revoked. I need to sign that revocation list to prove that it came from me, not another person. So I need a certificate for that revocation service. Again, publish in Active Directory, and under security, authenticated users, enroll and auto enroll.
Why don't we need to change the email for the only, why don't we need to change the email on this one?
Because it's a service or a server, there's no email address field anyways. A computer doesn't get an email address.
For the administrator,
And it's not checked incidentally. When you look at a service or a server certificate, it won't be checked to begin with.
for the administrator, did it also need the enroll and all enroll?
Yes.
Professor Ferris?
Didn't we do that? Guys, look at this. I want to show you something. We can't change it after the fact. Oh, actually, it will allow us to change those. But yes, I did check enroll and auto enroll.
For
Just double
the,
checking.
for the OCSP, did you do the publish certificate next directory box?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
All certificates we want to publish in Active Directory. So let's go into users. Want to duplicate that. Under the General tab again, change copy of to Ferris. So all your certificates are in a row. Under the Security tab, enroll and auto enroll. And under the Subject Name tab, uncheck the email boxes. What we're trying to do is create templates so when a user account signs in and talks to the certificate authority, to automatically go to the certificate authority, request a ticket, and get a ticket. No interaction on the admin whatsoever. That's what these templates are for. We cannot do web servers automatically because each website needs its own name. You know, so that you can't automate that. So we could duplicate this and do auto enroll. It will attempt to auto enroll, but when you look at the certificate, it'll say go to the web IIS application, go to the certificate, and it'll be pending you entering information. So it's not going to auto enroll. You can go into the IIS. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to open up IIS. If I highlight my servers, under server certificates, if I double click on it, and I want a certificate for this, it's one button. You know, just click it and it'll create a certificate. So based on this computer name and stuff like that. We should create one for this web server, but there's kind of one right there now. That'll work for this application. If I was going to create another application that was going to run under the same web server, I would probably create a new certificate. But then again, I really wouldn't do anything to this server other than just a CA. Okay, guys, and there's all kind of certificates we can issue. If your organization uses IPsec, I would create IPsec certificates. Look, let's do this one, Kerberos authentication. Let's create a duplicate that template. Again, go under General. We don't have to uncheck this. And security, enroll and auto enroll.
You don't have to check.
You don't have to uncheck it. I can create a certificate for my DCs. So like your computer account, and if you create certificates for your computer account and for your domain controllers, those machines will automatically use those tickets in Kerberos without any interaction on your part and make communication more secure. I'm going to use this duplicate template. for the domain controllers.
Both or?
What do you mean? No, hold on a second.
The domain controller did that.
Yeah, you can do both. One second. Did I? Oh, guys, I forgot to check publish an Active Directory for my Kerberos. I want them all to be published in Active Directory.
Domain controller or domain controller administration?
Both.
Okay.
Okay. Once I have all those certificates created, for any type of certificates you want to create, you just choose it here. If your users do encrypted file system, if they encrypt users, you'll want to do that. You'll also want to create, if you do this one, also do this one to create a recovery agent. Give that to one user. Let your admin be the recovery agent, so it can decrypt all users' files. So we've created enough templates. I'm just going to close it down now. Now I can't remember what we need to do next. Oh, go to certificate templates, new certificate templates to issue. And we're going to choose all of our certificates. They should be alphabetized. Mine aren't there either. Hold on one second.
I see mine.
Do you see yours?
Yes.
We do all.
Yeah, yours are there.
No, they're not in the wrong spot. This sometimes happens.
No, I only got like
Hold on, close that window. Now right click Cert Templates.
New certificates to.
This is for all the others.
Yeah.
Don't have it.
Okay, I'm going to reboot this machine. So I'm going to go into certificate authorities. I did a reboot because my templates weren't showing up. So under certificate templates, say new certificate templates to issue. And you want to choose all of your certificates. Guys, if you put Ferris in front of them, they're all in a row. Otherwise, you have to use control and choose each one independently. So highlight certificate templates, say new certificates to issue.
Oh, that's cool.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Click OK. And they'll show up in this list. Guys, once they're here, they're not a template anymore. Right click it and look what it is now. I can't make any changes to it. So if you need to make a change to it, you have to delete it here, go back to the template, make your change, and re-import it. Okay, now we need to configure our revocation. I gotta remember where it's at. Online responder management.
Oh, okay.
So the tools?
Okay. Online responder, a lot of times you're going to see this protocol being referred to, OCSP, Online Certificate Status Protocol. Because someone can read the certificate and see when the expiration date is. The certificates we're going to issue are good for 1 year. But let's say for some reason I fired an employee and I want to revoke his certificate. Well, if someone just looks at the certificate, they'll say, oh, that certificate's still good. I need a way for them to check to see, yes, it's not expired, but did you revoke it for any reason? If so, connect to this server and I'll give you a status update as to any revoked certificates. And it's pretty easy to configure. Right-click it, add revocation configuration. And I'm just going to give it the name of my domain.
All caps?
All caps.
.com too?
No, it's just the name.
Oh.
Click next. It's asking me for my a CA certificate. Remember, one of the templates we created was for an OCSP server. So when we do this, it will request a certificate for that service. Click next. Now we need to choose which certificate server do we want to get it from. That certificate server. We only have one. I'm going to auto enroll for my certificate. We have it all configured for auto enroll. I have a template based on that style of certificates. If I didn't import a template for OCSP, this would fail right now. Next. Then we don't really need to do this, but it just shows you the properties of that certificate. I can query the full database of certificates once a week, and once a day I can just query just for certain details of the certificates, and that's called deltas. The base is everything. Deltas is just a partial list. I'm just going to leave the default alone. What I want to query. Finish. Because I need to query the database of certificates, look for any revocation, create a list, then sign that list and give it to anyone who requested it. And there's not much to do here. You can look at information. Really, there's nothing really to do. Highlight here. Edit properties. There's not a lot you're going to do with this. I'm going to go back to my CA, then look at issued certificates. Do we have a OCSP certificate right there? So automatically contact my CA, got a certificate for itself. I'm going to sign out and sign back in. Oh no, this won't work. Not yet. We need to do one other thing. I need to go to my DC. I need to dial my domain. I have a certificate authority. You need to trust it. And you need to trust any certificates issued from it to each of the computers in my network. Because they need to know who's your certificate authority to grab a certificate from them. So I'm going to go to my DC and I'm going to create some policies.
What's DC? DC1?
A DC is just a tool to to manage and manipulate your domain. I don't care which DC you use. You're going to affect your domain regardless of which DC you use. All DCs are equal for all intents and purposes. So I don't care which one we go to, we would have the same effect. So I'm going to go to Tools, Group Policy Management. Under Group Policy Objects, we're going to create a new one called Certificates. Certificates. We also need to tell not only our computers, our users. Our user needs the certificates as well, so we need to tell the users where the certificate authority is and to trust that certificate authority. I'm going to modify that policy. I'm going to do, I'll do computers first. Policies, Windows settings, and I gotta look for it. Security, and public key policies. Okay, the path is computer configuration, policies. Mike, let me know, are you here?
I'm not even.
Okay, wait.
Okay, no.
Okay, policies, Windows, computer configuration, policies, Windows settings, security settings, public key policies. If you look on the right-hand side, you'll see 3 policies: certificate services client, certificate path validation settings, and certificate service client's another one.
Security settings and then.
On the right, you see 3 certificates. We need to configure these. So under certificate services client, certificate policy enrollment, enroll in a certificate. Get it through Active Directory. Use Active Directory to find your certificate authority. Now for path validation settings, we need to allow users to trust the root. Allow them to trust our root CA. If you trust our root, trust everything under it. You can deal with third-party clients as well. If you choose this option, you might screw things up. Any certificate signed on the web might not work. But if you don't want your users to sign the web and be able to sign into HTTPS sites, check that and they won't be able to. Okay? Basically, trusting you the root. And properties for the auto enrollment, again, enable this. We're going to allow them to renew and update certificates. And this is for any computer or service certificate.
Some percent,
Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Basically, it's going to create a log in the event viewer because you can't send an email to a computer saying your certificate's about to expire. It doesn't really matter. We're going to renew them automatically. But it's just letting us know that within a year, you know, our certificates are good for a year. Click OK. So I want to collapse that and go down to user configuration, policies, Windows settings, security settings, public key policy there. You want me to go back, Mike?
Yeah, for the service client auto enrollment, what did you do?
Just enabled it.
Just enable no other settings?
Let me verify that. For the client auto enroll,
Yes.
Enable and check the two checkbox to automatically renew and update the certificates. Basically, if I change my certificate template, I delete my certificate, change the certificate template and re-import it, what do I do? Do I keep my current certificate or do I request a new certificate based on the new template? I'm saying create a new certificate based on the new template.
How do we get to the new place now?
Okay, so that's good. So I configured 3 settings in that policy. Now I'm going to collapse computer configuration, go to user configuration, policies, window settings, security settings, then public key policy. Then I have 3 right there. So I want to go to certificate enrollment policy. I want to enable that. Basically, go get a certificate from through Active Directory. This one is kind of important. If we don't enable this, your users will have a bunch of different certificates, one for each computer they sign on to. So we don't want that to overburden our CA with a bunch of certificates, duplicate type certificates. So what we basically want to do is enable this so wherever they go, their certificates run with them. Because it stores your certificates under this is for your user account. If you go %sign app data, %sign, anything that you want and customize the ribbon for Office with this machine, it would save it under app data. If you did any custom application settings or if you played an online game, it would store all those settings in this folder, which is part of your profile. Any certificates stored in this profile are good. They will work while you're signed into this machine. But what happens when you went to another machine? Those certificates won't be there. So you would re-request them for there. So what we're saying is store those certificates in Active Directory. So wherever you sign in, you still have access to your certificates. So typically this is the location where certificates would be stored. So I'm going to enable this. Talking about some tombstoning. So when you delete a certificate, it's not deleted immediately, it's tombstoned. Because when you sign it to a new computer, it's going to download those certificates and put them in the App Store there. So if you delete a certificate on that computer, and you sign in to another computer and it's sitting there, it will try to upload that certificate into Active Directory again. Well, you don't really delete it from Active Directory, you tombstone it for 60 days. So basically, if you sign it to a different computer in 60 days, and there's a certificate already sitting on that computer, you try to upload it to Active Directory, we'll say, no, we know about that certificate, it's been deleted, it's been tombstoned. It's just sitting there waiting just to let all other computers know that don't send me the certificate again, I already know it's been deleted. So I'm going to, and you can keep 2,000 credentials in memory. That's how much bytes you can use of Active Directory.
Oh, the 1,000 per user?
Right, and just check that to roam the passwords. Guys, if you have a roaming profile, you don't have to worry about this too much because your profile will be, that app data information will be part of your roaming profile. I'm not a big fan of roaming profiles. Click OK. It's just going to let you know that about roaming profiles, you really don't need to do that to roaming profiles. You don't really need to do this at all with roaming profiles. So for auto enrollment, yes, we want to auto enroll. We want to automatically renew and automatically update the certificate if you should change the template. Okay, we just need to link that policy to an object like our domain. if you're just wanting to update your user information, you need to sign out, sign back in. If you want to update the computer policy, reboot, or just do GP update force. I'm going to do GP update force.
Don't we have to link the thing?
I did. I linked it to the main.
Okay, link.
I mean, also the same thing for the auto enrollment, users.
I'm sorry?
The same thing for auto enrollment users.
Yes. Auto enroll,
Yeah. And-
renew, and update the certificate should the template be updated.
Did you link certificates, right?
Yeah. Guys, I'm just going to log out and log back in.
On the DC? That one?
Sure.
And did you force the update, or is it just gonna do it automatically when we sign out?
I forced the update.
What was that document again? GP update, like, what's something?
Space force. / force. Guys, I'm going to hit refresh. And look at all the certificates we just grabbed.
What's that under? I'm not sure.
I am under my certificate authority, my certificate manager, and then I go to issued certificates.
Once you do the GP update, you will do the certificate, right?
Yeah, and then you have to do some action, like sign in as a user. When you sign in, you'll go auto enroll and get your certificates.
Because I got certificates, but I didn't restart. I didn't
I logged off and logged back on. Okay, give me 1 second. Guys, it tells you the template it based it on. Look at this. Did we auto, remember we did this? They were already there. We didn't really need to do that because the domain controller authentication used the default template. So some of these will use the default template, like this Kerberos authentication. So it's just kind of twice there. No big deal. How many are pending? How many are failed? Now, guys, if we did auto enroll web certificates, when your web server turned on and you requested a certificate, it would try to auto enroll. So it would sit here as pending, saying it needs additional information. We don't have any revoked certificates. If we did, they would be part of this online responder. Okay, who raised their hand?
Right now, I did the update.
There's a need for certification.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
One that keep you updated.
Did you restart the other one?
Refresh it. I got 18. You're ahead of the game, bro.
I got 36.
We're signing two different DCs, we'll get a little more. Each DC will get our own.
Oh.
Guys, this might screw us up, but it's a practice. The other thing I want to do is show you how to get a web certificate. I'm going to go to IIS.
On what machine?
The only machine we have a web server on happens to be our CA. So we're not going to use the CA certificate on the CA. We're going to request a certificate for the web server, not use the actual CA certificate on the web server. It'll actually work. So I went to IIS, highlighted my server. I'm on my certificate authority. The only machine I have a web server installed.
I don't know. How do I got that?
Highlight your web server, then double click on server certificates. If you just highlight it, nothing will change. You have to double click on it so this action bar changes. Okay, like that. Then we can
I'm one step behind you.
okay. If you're just creating a test application or something and you just need a certificate, since 2008 and later, Microsoft has given you the ability to create self-signed certificates just for testing things out, right within this utility, which is nice. So if you want to create a self-signed certificate, you create it right there. But let's say you wanted to use a certificate that's accepted on the internet, like through VeriSign or something. It's a two-step process. You create a request. It's in a certain format. You put that request on a thumb drive. You send it securely to your certificate authority, which would be VeriSign or whoever.
Physically mail it?
Yes. They take it, put it in their computer, process their request, and then they send you back your public and private key. If either one of those are compromised, they can't send it through DHL. They need it to be sent securely through Iron Mountain or something. And then at that point, you need to take your thumb drive back, put it in there, then complete the request, and you'll download your public and private key from your thumb drive. With that being said, every time I've ever requested a certificate, they go, oh, just email it to us. The chances of someone reading that email and getting my certificate is slim to none, but email is insecure. Okay, real secure environment used. Has anyone heard of Iron Mountain?
Yeah.
It's an old mine in central PA. They don't mine anymore, but it's so far down they could survive a nuclear attack, and the government has a lot of offices there. And Iron Mountain does a lot of security stuff, storing data. People actually put servers and backups down there. But, and they do secure delivery, armored car delivery. Even Brinks can do the delivery of your certificates. I don't know anyone's ever used a real secure method to deliver the certificates, but the chances of someone reading that particular email and getting your certificates. But what it would be? How easy would it be just to leave that email, save it, and someone access the email server to read that email 2 years later?
You request that from who?
No, you request it from a certificate server. You know, they're Microsoft, a CA. Microsoft is not a CA. Guys, how can we find a list of accepted CAs on the internet? Start Internet Explorer. Settings. It's even easier than that. Go to Internet Options. Then under Content Certificates, we want to go to Trusted Routes. Right here. Incidentally, look, my trusted routes are there. I'm now a trusted route. Microsoft issues certificates, but they're not for, they're just for sign applications and things like that.
Sorry, Professor, you went from Internet Options to which step?
Content Certificates.
Okay.
Okay, so, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is just use a domain certificate. Right here, create a domain certificate. Sorry. In IIS, highlighted the server, double-clicked on server certificates, then create domain certificate. Guys, this would be the similar form that we would use when we did this top option. Yeah.
Okay, Professor, so I went to the certificate and then...
We looked at them. That's all we did.
we looked at it and that's it. And after that we went to
Back to IIS.
Okay. And create a certificate request?
Create domain certificate.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
So this computer name is cs01vm7.ferris.com. If you use that name on your machine, you'll get errors, and you deserve to get errors. Use your name. Ferris Inc.
His last name capital?
IT.
Does it matter?
No. Guys, this has to be a valid city and state. You can't put a fake city, it won't work. You know, so don't just do it. Hit your hand on the keyboard. And guys, this is the name that you should put that you want people to type in the URL field, and it should be resolvable to an IP. Click Next. Grab our CA. Then I like to make this name. This is just the name that's going to be in our list of certificates. I'm going to call this CA01VM7.ferris.com. If we leave this blank, it's going to be hard to distinguish between this name and the name we got through the wizard. Because remember, when we went through that wizard and created our CA, it requested a certificate for us on the second loop. Remember, we had to do it two times.
CS or CA?
I did cs01-vm7.ferris.com.
Oh, hyphen.
Well, whatever name you gave the computer. What did you call your computer?
I called mine.
That name should be resolvable to an IP. So click Finish. Even though we didn't configure auto enrollment, the web one was already done. Guys, if we didn't put that friendly name in there, it wouldn't have shown up here. But look, I've just created another certificate. So you have these certificates just sitting there, but now we need to bind them to a site. I'm going to go highlight the default first website, which is an application for our certificate authority. Whenever someone contacts me to get a certificate, they're doing it through this application. I'm going to go just to show you something here. Basic settings. Guys, do you remember? Remember during the installation I said don't choose the internet user account, just use that default pool user. That's this. That's what we actually affected here. Otherwise, it would say IIS user here. And if you use an IIS user here, what happens is half of us, our website will never start. Our website never starts. That means no one can get certificates. When they try to connect to that website. Sorry, I'm highlighting. I'm going down to sites and highlighting default website, and on the right, checking basic settings. And right there is that application pool that we defined in the wizard. When we run this application, we're running it under that authority. I'm going to click cancel, then go to bindings. Here's where I bind a certificate to a website. It's actually to a web server. I'm going to click edit and choose that certificate that I just created.
Edit HTTPS.
Yes, edit HTTPS.
And then
And just type in that host name. If you're hosting multiple websites under different names, you create different certificates. You can distinguish them by using the host header value as well. So click OK. So now that certificate is being used for our default website. I'm going to go check that out. Let me just show you one other thing. Guys, look at this. This is cert enrollment. So I can type in HTTPS cs01-vm7.farish.com. I just want to get to the default website.
what did you go after?
Okay. Am I communicating securely with this website?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
I'm only authenticating one way. All I'm doing is doing non-repudiation. I know all I'm doing right now is I know I'm talking to the right web server. It's green. I mean, it's not red at all.
Professor Ferris?
That would be red.
I got a
You have to go on the required server identification.
Yeah, where'd you find that?
Okay, one second.
Yeah.
Yours, I don't have a problem. I say it doesn't work. I want to answer your question first. What was your question?
Under edit site venue, did you check on required server name?
No, I did not. You didn't check this, did you? Under bindings,
No, not so.
Brendan. Is this server name your actual server name?
I didn't check.
Okay, is your server name your server truly your server name? You have no typos here, and you have no typos when you created that certificate.
So we have, to leave
That's
it
right,
unchecked,
it's left.
I'm sorry?
Unchecked or?
Unchecked, just like this.
Unchecked.
Mine is not working yet.
Hey, I didn't select that drop down menu.
Did you choose your certificate here?
Yes.
The one that starts with your name, your fully qualified name, or the one that has your domain in it? Look, because remember, this is the one that was created through the wizard when we set up the CA. Because remember, we had to go through the wizard twice. I'm choosing the top one, is the certificate I just created right now.
Yeah, I chose that one.
You chose What, CS01?
CS 22 VM07. She's my.
Okay. And what's type tier?
CS 22 VM07 for net.com.
Click OK, and you sure that's the server name?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you type HTTPS here?
Can you reload?
Yes, I did, Professor. And,
Reload this?
let me see.
just see, you got the lock.
Yeah, it's good. You know, it won't, it'll be red if there's a problem. Okay, guys, but the actual website that they're going to is cert enroll maybe. No. Look, right here. Look at the sub right here. Okay, right there. That will give you the ability to manually request certificates to a web interface. So instead of using the automatic issued certificate from the wizard, we created our own.
What do you use for the username?
Bears, backslash administrator, a domain account that has a certificate. Any user account would go into here. That part of it. But we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this because we have all enroll complete. We don't need to send our users to this website to get certificates.
Because I never put a dot.
No, we don't even have to do anything for that.
Did that on Windows 97. With the 3.1. 3.1.
So you can try to put a dot there, but I think maybe your certificate might be a little screwed up too. You might have to regenerate your certificate because in your common name, you didn't distinguish. You got to go lowercase. You got to start going lowercase. You know, because your certificate's issued in uppercase. I don't know what effect that will have on other machines. So what was I going to say? Oh, guys, I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to run MMC. This can be done on any machine. I'm going to show you an alternate way to grab certificates. Instead of doing it through the website, like we just did, I'm going to do File, Add Remove Snap-ins. I'm going to add, guys, this is our certificate template that we were just using a few minutes ago. I'm going to click Add to Certificates. I'm going to do my account. Then I want to do it again with computer account. So I added certificates twice. Guys, sometimes I've actually created one MMC, custom MMC with four snap-ins. The templates, the certificate authority, and certificate for a user and a computer. Saved it, so when I open it up, I can see all the stuff all at once. But if you add the template and the certificate authority, it's the same thing you get from right here. Click OK. And if you store this in a location, whenever a user signs in, it'll be certificate for that user. So I can highlight my user account, all task, automatically enroll and retrieve certificates. Go through the wizard, show all templates. Some of these aren't available because I've already, one second. Oh, I didn't reboot this machine to get the policy. No big deal. Sorry, I highlighted current users. Guys, I'm gonna try to save this to my desktop. File, save as. I'm gonna save it to my desktop just so I can log out and log back in. I'm gonna do GP update. I never did GP update on my certificate authority. I'm gonna do GP update and sign out and sign in. I'm going to reopen my console. I saved it to the desktop. I'm not sure why I'm not getting certificates. Oh, I might have been already issued the certificates. Let me see if I'm issued them already.
I believe, yeah, you should probably have.
That's why I'm not getting them. Oh, because I'm already issued the certificates. That's why I can't request them again. But look how many certificates I have now. Computer 2, Computer 3, Computer 6, Computer 5, Computer 7. Look, right there is the web certificate we just issued. I don't see any one second. There's a problem with mine. Does anyone have user accounts? Oh yeah, there it is. User. Yeah, so I have all the certificates I'm going to get. So right now I have 44 certificates. Imagine just on the 6 machines we have in the one user account. Imagine doing this manually for every user and every machine you have in your network. If you have to manually issue those, or just walk someone through it.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Question first. For
Yes.
the MMC thing, do you want? Should we save that?
Yes, what I would do is save it to one location, so it could be on a network share. Then if your users ever need to, they can go to that network share, double click on it, and it will be for their user account and their computer that they're at.
I think I actually tried to close it to say save console settings.
That's fine.
Console one to yes.
Yeah, but that's just an alternate way to get certificates. Guys, you only need this method when the certificates are, look, if I go to personal, guys, I can see the certificates there as well. You only need this method when the auto enroll fails for some reason. Or you can have them go to the website to get a certificate. So under user, then personal, I can see those certificates. If I go to computer, then personal, I should see those computer certificates. This is under that MMC console. Personal certificates for my user and personal certificates for my computer. Okay. So guys, I'm going to stop recording.